Sorry, can I put the laptop in? Sorry, you're okay. It's okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
She would be fine, but it would be so.
And they also stop
All right, I'm going to call up to the chairs up here. I'm going to call up Emily Zelly. Did I get to say that correctly? Is Emily in here? Oh, Emily. And Mary Wood is here, and Amy Bernstein. I know everybody just wants to keep socializing, but I think we do have some people who are wanting to talk business. So, Emily. So Dr. Vonnya is running late. She's coming from an event where she received an award. So that's good for us. She's an award-winning person. But I'll take a moment to introduce the panelists, and then I'm going to do something a little bit different for this panel while we're waiting for Vonnya. So, Emily. Are you all going to stay for the, Sam, are you staying for the thing? She can't hear me. Okay. I want everybody to stay for the party. Stay for the party?
No.
Yes. Okay. So Emily and I met at Sarah's event, which is so cool because I feel like there's kind of a theme happening tonight. Where we are doing unconventional, okay, I'm not using that word unconventional. We're using our energies to talk about our work instead of like the traditional, like, how are you marketing your work and what are you doing to sell your work? And so we just struck up a conversation
over boots because
I was wearing these boots
and I was wearing pink shoes.
And
I wore these today in honor.
Thank you. That really means a lot. And you have splattered paint on yours, and I have splattered paint on my jacket.
Yeah.
Bye. You're coming back, right? Okay. So anyway, so it's like there's this community, and I've met you through mutual friends, and I feel like there's something happening when it comes to us selling our creative work and being creatives right now. And it's so. We can't really like measure it and define it yet, but we're getting there and we're starting to talk about it, and it's really important. So I wanted to just do the same thing as everyone else did. Tell me about yourself, and then tell me about what you do day to day to call yourself a creative businesswoman, just in your little small introduction. And we have this mic. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Emily Zelli. I'm the creator of Embodied Comedy, which is a system that blends improv comedy, nervous system theory, and nonlinear somatic practices to unlock creative freedom especially for women with ADHD, but like some men are like my top clients, so everyone is welcome. And I know that sounds really fancy, but like also I feel so unqualified to be on this panel because I don't have an LLC. I don't even have a business bank account, and I don't have a website. So I'm just, but like, so there's like part of me that's like, what am I doing here? And then there's the other part of me that's like, no, I'm like building a business, and that qualifies me to be here. And I just need to like say that up front because I feel like that we all have those parts. And I just want to like put that out before we even like go any further. I also have a full-time job. I am a corporate project manager. I'm a senior technical project manager for HR department for a big insurance company. Where's Katie? Is she still here? I'm not a professional gambler. I like to have an income that comes to me every 2 weeks. And how I think of it is kind of like this project management aspect of myself is an orchard that is supporting me. And the artistic part of my life, the embodied comedy, is like a garden that I literally just planted. So that's how I like reconcile that. And I also just really enjoy the luxury of being able to like build my business like with ease and kind of like at a pace that suits me.
That's wonderful, and I hope that you will share with us what your hopes and dreams are with your business, because that's also really important. We don't always get to hear that, because oftentimes panelists are people who've done things and accomplished things. But this is so great that you're in this phase.
But I have to say you were breaking my heart because you went down a list of things you feel like you don't have or you haven't done. But one of the words earlier today was abundance.
Yeah.
You have gifts. You have so many gifts. So let's celebrate and lead with the gifts. And it's not about what you think you don't have, because it's all about what you do have and what you offer. So let's
This
take
is
the
going to be a group therapy session. It was bound to happen.
Yeah, I'm in that mode a lot. I'm Amy Bernstein. If you had told me 10 years ago that I would be here now as the person I am, I would have been awestruck, and also I would have said, you're full of shit. I am an author. I signed a contract this week for my 6th book. I have 2 novels alone coming out either this year, no, 2026 and 2027. That's pretty amazing. I am an author, and I also write weekly on Substack, and I wrote a book called Wrangling the Doubt Monster, Fighting Fears, Finding Inspiration, which is all about creativity and self-doubt, and came welling up out of me because I've lived with that for so long, that sort of self-doubting mentality that holds you back, and I put it all out on paper in one big screaming burst, and it's helped me connect with so many people and have so many extraordinary conversations and workshops around how we bring our creativity to life and embrace it and sort of don't feel ashamed of it and feel less doubtful about it. We can walk with our doubts is what I always say. Mm-hmm. I'm also a certified book coach. So a book coach is someone who helps other people, other aspiring authors and published authors find their own best paths to getting their book done or sold, or the book proposal done, or the query letter out. And so I work directly with nonfiction authors and some memoir writers on helping them as an accountability partner. I offer a lot of guidance. I charge a lot of money. We're going to have this conversation about that around money, I think, partly.
Yes.
Finally, the little bit of money. And that's been an extraordinary journey in and of itself. Incredibly, it's a gift I give to my clients, but my clients give so much back to me.
Love it.
Wow. I love hearing that.
Can't wait to hear you.
Yeah, I was gonna be like, well, I won a couple prizes for like 3 poems. So that's my claim to fame. But You're right. We are often plagued by that imposter syndrome, right? And I love that you're both kind of speaking to that. And I think through the vulnerability, that's where we get to shine in art, right? Because it really comes from the heart and from this primordial place within each of us, which I think, that's really the joy in it, I think, is that it's so different from all the other endeavors that we might feel we need to support our art, right? Like you're talking about your orchard. I love how you describe that, because I think that, going back to kind of how we monetize and how we think about that, we all have our own framework for what will support us, right? Our daily fabric for what's going to support what we create. And for me, I've always just loved writing. And, my dream is, talking about the future is, to have my poetry collection published someday, right? But I got to submit, I got to put in the time, probably need to work with you. But there's so many dreams, and I'm sure we all can relate to this. It's so hard sometimes to focus on only one. Jewel and I have talked about this a lot in our time together. It's so hard to focus on only one. And speaking of that, right? My company, it's an education company, academicpathways.com, And we also have a retail location, Academic Pathways. And back to the creative though, I've been doing service with kids. I've been working with kids educationally since I taught high school in Philly back in the day, right? So that has given me such joy working with children. But it wasn't until my wedding last year when I started making things out of gold wire from Amazon that I bought for $5. And there was nothing as satisfying as bending that wire and having someone buy it for $5. And there's a joy that comes from just making something out of instinct, like a poem, like something you shaped from nothing. And having someone see it in the world and say, wow, I really like this. I connect with this. And so, I'm sure I'm probably maybe the newest to art in this room. But from that was born out of this desire to create a collective for artists. And in Rockville, Maryland, I have an art collective, and it's called The Looking Lounge. And so we're very much in the nascent phase of bringing in artists, doing workshops. We just launched in July. But there's nothing like that joy of connecting with something that someone has made. And I'm just so excited and honored to be in this room with all of you and really dig into what you've put out in the world and be a part of it. So
Thank you. Thanks
Thank you.
all for sharing about your journeys so honestly and openly. And I think that, Vanessa, you said it so well. This is a safe space and we can honestly share. And what I really love to hear is that all of your business ideas, whether they're new or, you've already had some years behind you, they all involve community and they all involve other people. And so that's kind of the engine behind Creative Catalyst, is thinking of ourselves as creative women, as how can we serve community? And that's where I think the key to a successful business actually lies. And so let's talk about that a little bit. And I want to also open this up to all of you. If something sparks in you, I want you to raise your hand. Let's just have an open discussion about when you hear this phrase, I serve a community through my art, and that's my business. What does that awaken in you? And how do you, whether it's, this is how I see myself doing that in the next few years, or I've seen someone do that, or just talk about that experience a little bit or what it brings up for you. I use my artistry to serve a community, and that's my business. Okay, anybody?
Yeah. You want to go? Do we invite him? I'll go. Okay. So I started doing improv in 2018 at a time that I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was 15, and I took Ritalin for my entire adult life. And at the time I started doing improv, which was totally accidental. I was like helping with my daughter's theater program at school. And I just thought I was gonna be like peeling oranges. And I got there and they were like, you're gonna teach the elementary kids how to act. And I was like, I was in a Shakespeare in 6th grade. Like, I'm not qualified for this, but here's like a theme of just like doing things despite being qualified. So I signed up for an improv class and just to like get more embodied experience with it. And at the time I was in this like depth of addiction to Ritalin that I was taking for ADHD. And I found that through doing improv that I was doing a lot of other things too, but there was this profound sense of healing that came out of that for me, of just feeling like really like empowered and capable. And also that's the nervous system regulation too, like came in. I didn't realize it at the time, but like later as I learned about nervous system regulation, it clicked of like, this is an amazing way of practicing the agility of regulating our nervous system state to state. And so I think when I think about like my business that, that I'm building, it's to help that version of me. It's to help like women who feel stuck in like despair. And it's also like amazing through my classes that I've taught and workshops like those. It's so incredible to like have that sense of community and people to say, I learned so much about myself and I feel more empowered. And I've had students like, work with their doctors to like reduce medication and like have these amazing results. And like, I feel like that's the gift. And I feel like that's also a part of like why I'm not like rushing to make this into like a big business, because it's like so beautiful to have the gift be the community and like those connections that come out of it. And that's what comes up for me when you ask that question.
I serve communities of writers and communities of readers, and also communities of artists. I developed a creativity workshop that I've run with artists across almost every genre: film, textile art, painting. It's incredible when they come in the room together, they don't know one another. And so I serve communities of artists in that we together explore what drives their creativity and what holds them back, and help them to sort of dig deeper and further so they can remove some of those blockages and feel empowered and less fearful of going forward with their own creative practice, particularly to build something that's sustaining. In my book coaching practice, I absolutely serve communities of writers who are looking to figure out how to get what's in their head onto the page, often for the first time. I have a client who is a really incredibly insightful therapist who works with teens who are very stuck, teens who are stuck with procrastination, with anxiety, with all kinds of different ways that they're having trouble functioning. And she knows her business. And she keeps saying to me, why can't I just write the book? I mean, I know what I'm doing. It's like, this is an entirely different part of your intellect. To get this on paper, a 25-year practice on paper in a way that connects to a reader is a whole different kettle of fish. And so it's extraordinary as I work with these communities of writers to help them sort of give birth. I really kind of am a midwife to books to help them give birth to that kind of a product. So it's incredible. And I find that because writing is such a lonely, intensely lonely business, not lonely, you are alone when you're writing. I find that I'm sort of also that combined extroverted introvert. I need to then go back to real people with those connections with other artists to fill my well back up, and remember why I do what I do when I am alone. So.
Yeah. I like how you spoke to empowerment and you spoke to energy, because I do think that for whatever we have inside of us aching to get out, we need someone or something to kind of get us there a lot of times. You know, I find it very rare that people are doing that without an engine of sorts, you know, that's really motivating them. And I think just that fire can come in so many ways that just, you know, lights you up daily. It can be as simple as meeting on Zoom, you know, looking forward to meeting each other on Zoom and just knowing like what I say matters, right? Like being in this creative catalyst mentorship experience. It's been so rewarding to just know like there's someone in the world that is also feeding my fire, you know? And I think that has just been amazing. And you know, one hopes that one will have people in their personal life who can do that. But a lot of times we do need someone kind of outside the inner circle, you know, we're already doing something so intimate. I think sometimes, you know, it's important to get outside our usual orbit, right, to access an energy that's going to push us forward otherwise. And I think, you know, with the Looking Lounge, it has been a place with such magic. In these few months, I have never experienced that kind of magic. And I mean, being here at Creative Alliance, like I can feel that chemistry in the room. You know, I was standing outside listening for a little while and I'm so sorry I was late. But it's just so good to be here because the second I approached, I could feel the energy. And, you know, working with kids all these years, that's so rewarding in a different way. But being in a room where, like you said, people don't know one another, they come into the room, they feel the energy, and to be able to kind of form a collective almost every time you get people together. I mean, there's almost an unspoken kind of instinctual collective that's being generated in that moment very organically. And everyone is creating and feeling, you know, and it's just, yeah, that's what I try to do, is kind of create that magic when people come through. Yeah, to answer
And you're
your
almost
question.
saying like it creates itself.
Yes,
So
exactly.
you're running
right.
a business
Yeah.
that runs itself.
Yeah, right.
Because people
right.
are willing to pay for that experience.
Yeah, what a beautiful thing.
People are willing to come to these places. It's not a hard sell.
Yeah.
We don't have to be like, do you want to feel happy and create? Like, no, everyone wants it.
Yeah.
I made a friend near where I live. His name's Angelo, and he started a place called Manor Mill. I don't know how many of you have heard of Manor Mill. And he was just kind of like, I have this vision. I don't know. Like, let me just, rent this building or whatever. It is such a thriving community of artists in the middle of nowhere. And it's like this old money neighborhood that's like horse farms. And you would never think that there would be such a rich community of artists. And I think that we are living in a time where, like as in the previous panel, we have the upper hand almost, because we're the ones bringing something as a business model that so prioritizes the person who's buying it and paying for it. And so I want to encourage us today during this business panel to like shift our mindset, like no one's going to buy my art, to like, I want to serve my community. And then that service is where I'm prioritizing them, and they will get so much out of it. They're not going to mind paying what I'm asking. Yeah, Vanessa.
Yeah.
So I spent a lot of years helping artists get their work into the marketplace, right? And one of the struggles that was there consistently was getting them to price their work appropriately for the time and the vision and the craftsmanship, all of those things, right? Getting them to move beyond their perceived value of the piece to the potential customer's perceived value of the piece, right? Which was often very different. So can you speak a little bit to sort of, thinking about pricing, thinking about what that engagement looks like, just unpack that a little bit.
That's great. And I'll paraphrase for our online audience that artists often don't price their work in a way that actually mirrors the time, energy, and everything you put into it, the love you put into it. Whereas the audience or your market, your target audience might be very willing to pay that prime price. So whether we're talking to this point as, well, this is how I figured out how to price myself, talk about your honest feelings about this, because I think that it's going to be a lot of like, we're going to resonate with what you have to say about it.
Well, I'll start. I think every artist so far, right? Again, we just launched in July, right? So we've only worked with probably about 20 artists so far, just being candid. So every artist so far I have found does have such a strong feeling about their price, right? So I think it's really interesting tension, and I use tension in a positive way, right? It's a complex, nuanced relationship when you're saying, here's what I think the community would pay, here's maybe what I would pay, and like here's just the purity of your art, which should transcend the price too, right? I think that's interesting too, because I have an artist who really doesn't want to sell. So he prices all his work at $7,777. and like that will be purchased by someone at some point. But we had that conversation, where he says it like a joke. He's like, yeah, man, if somebody wants to buy this, like, for that price, like, I don't know, I'd still be on the fence about really giving it away, but I think I might, and I just, he's just one of our artists, right? I've learned so much from them already, but he is teaching me so much about just how to value yourself in a way that does transcend any price point. So, I'm excited to talk to you later at the reception get some advice from you and learn from you, because I do think people should stand firm in their identity and their sense of worth. And I believe, as a longtime business owner, blood, sweat, and tears on the academic pathways side, especially in this economy, I also believe in installment plans. And I know when I commissioned a portrait a long time ago for a friend of mine, I did pay in installments. So that's, I don't know if I'm getting too granular, but that's something I think that's
That's cool. That's a
is
really good point.
good to think
That's
about.
something we can consider. Is
Yeah.
Giving options.
Yeah, I have such strong feelings about this. Book coaching is very much a business, and I belong to a consortium of certified book coaches who are all working really hard to build this into a viable business. And most of the vast majority of them are women. A lot of them come out of roles in editing or academia or other professions. I mean, there are some book coaches who they were anthropologists or they were lawyers, and they come out of different professions. But every book coach I talk to, at least new in their career, is dramatically underpricing herself, undervaluing herself, under appreciating her own gifts and the expertise that she's bringing into a marketplace. And men don't do this.
Yeah.
And so one of my insights about all this is this.
Yeah, they do. Without
Amen.
the expertise.
Yes, one of my insights is this: when you're pricing your work, it is not your concern what the buyer can or cannot afford.
Yes, right.
Don't sit there going, oh, I don't think they can afford this.
Yeah.
Because I hear this from the book coach, I don't think that, but they're just not going to be able to afford it. That is not your problem. Your mission is to bring your value forward in the world, make your value proposition clear, show show the problems that you're going to solve, make sure that you're connecting with the buyer's pain points. We can have an entire seminar about that, and price yourself for a fair market value, given the extraordinary, the talent that you have, the work that you do that someone else cannot do, the amount of time it's going to take. In book coaching, you're reading lots and lots and lots and lots of pages, and you can't spend 25 hours doing that and then charge them $250. It's not going to work. So that's the first thing that I always say. And if someone, and I do offer budget pricing, I say right away, I said, okay, well, for that, at that level of effort, it's going to be $5,000. It's going to take us 4 to 6 months. I said, listen, you can pay me over time. I don't charge interest. That's absolutely fine. I'm not going to devalue my price or my worth,
Right.
but you can take longer to pay it.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And some people, take me up on that. Most people surprisingly don't. It's astonishing. Like, they're like, that's fine. I'll pay it. But it's not your problem to worry about what they can or cannot afford. Your problem is to make your value proposition super clear and show them why they need what you have.
I love that. I just want to pop in here and mention what I mentioned in our last panel, made me think of that you put out your energy and then that energy comes back to you. And that's what that sounds like to me, is that you are so confident in what you can deliver, and you've done it before, and you're like, or maybe it's your first sale, but you're just like, I'm going to make this book happen for you. And that client believes because of your energy.
And if I can add one quick thing, when you don't win the client, it's not because you were priced too high. That is not the reason.
Yeah,
It's
right.
because they're suddenly terrified of the commitment. It's suddenly gotten very real for them. They are not ready. You're ready.
Right.
But they're not ready. It's not that you were overpriced. That's never the reason.
Very well said.
Yeah.
Woo, thank you, baby.
Amen. Right. Amen.
It's also, you have to find the people that are willing to pay this for you.
Yes,
Find your
niche
market.
audience.
Know your worth.
Right.
But also understand that the example of a starting artist exists for a reason. And you are definitely going to go to these events or markets or galleries where people will come up to you and they will say the offensive things like, "I could do that. That doesn't take you any time." But that does not work that. So it's like you're going to run into that. That's a reality. But knowing your worth and finding the people and the space where that can be acknowledged and appreciated is a struggle.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. It can happen. You can find it, but it's a hard struggle to be a working artist. It's really
Yeah,
hard
I just
struggle.
want to paraphrase for our audience online. Basically, you're saying that when a person doesn't take you up on your price, say it one more time.
Basically, you need to be in the place where people where you can find people that will appreciate.
Yeah, it's a very niche audience. It's
Very
like,
niche
it's gonna be specific to what you deliver, and yeah. And also, I feel like Melissa said something very similar about, it was like you were saved from a situation because you were rejected. And somebody said no to you. What if you ended up working with that client on a lower price, you agree on something, and then you're just like, it's hell on earth for 6 months? Right. Yeah. Keep your price high.
Yeah.
And then avoid the assholes, is what I say. Yes.
If I could add to that, I think there's not a lot of money in improv. What? I know, right? It's shocking. So I feel like that's like part of my mission too, is like to bring an elevation to improv where people can make good money doing it. And one way that I'm working through this is by investing in myself, like in working with coaches and teachers and going to retreats where there is like a level of elevation. Because I find that the more that I put myself in a studentship situation or receiving that, then it's easier for me to turn around and know my worth and feel my value when I charge more than usual improv workshops charge. And then also to that, I think, you know, because I have the luxury of having a day job, I also, as I'm building my business, like really want part of it to be founded on service. And so I do like a free monthly improv in the nervous system drop-in, which is great. And that, like, I feel like that kind of satisfies the desire to like give back. And so then when people want to work with me one-on-one, I have no problem charging like, you know, way more than like improv coaches usually charge, because there's like there's like a free offering, or there's kind of like a, you know, more like a gift that offers that exists for them.
Also, is it also health? Like you're offering a health service?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I see a lot of opportunities for cross-marketing with different industries for your business, but I think that, I just lost my train of thought. Something to do, what were you talking about?
Oh, like how, like a service,
Studentship.
like
Service. Oh, you were saying you're elevating your business by you're going to like conferences, you're attending things, and you're getting your own coach. There's literally artist grants for that. So like Maryland State Arts Council is giving away a professional development grant that's $2,500 that you can take for yourself and go to writers' conferences. You can do, because you're an artist providing a service to a community. And if you can show them that the things that you're learning to improve your artistry is going to be reciprocal and change the community, then you can get money. That's one way for you to call it a business, you know? So we have to open up the way that we think of ourselves as not just the transaction with customers. There's this other way of like being of service, you know? Anybody else have any other thoughts before we move? Yeah, Jewel.
So I feel like, and let me know if you all agree, but as an artist, I feel like one of like the most challenging things when it comes to like money, I guess, and creating your own financial stability within your craft is putting a price tag on something that is quite literally priceless to you.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Right.
it's kind of hard to come up, like it can be very challenging to actually put a number on something that feels like there's no number that you could ever quite find to define your art, you know? And it's like getting over that obstacle, but also kind of like coming into alignment with what you feel your worth is in your creation, I guess. It's an obstacle that all artists, I feel, have to overcome, but work through, because it's not going to be a linear journey. It's going to be, you know, there's going to be bumps and ups and downs, but it's like, it's something that all artists, like, we kind of have to like face to face in order to
Like
make
putting
money.
a dollar amount on it.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Let's hear from a community. Yeah.
Well, I've thought about that a lot because I've been selling my work since like 2010, and I think it's sort of like it started by kind of understanding where I was in terms of like where I was in my career versus where other people were in their career and what were they selling their work for, and then like kind of figuring out where I fit in the marketplace.
Yeah.
Because
That positioning is really important.
yeah,
Mhm.
because I think once I figured out where I was in the marketplace in 2010, then I priced my work at a certain level, which was like, entry level or whatever. And then as I became more experienced, my prices started to go up with inflation. So you have to like put that into consideration. And then as you get more, like you show more in galleries, you get more awards, you get more publicity, then your price goes up for that because then you're more desirable. Yeah, it's like there's so many factors that go in to like pricing the work. And so one of the things that I do is I put together this Excel sheet where I have like I price my work based on like per square inch at this point. So yeah, so I do like $4 a square inch for something that's like under 8 inches, and then I do like it's like a certain I've got this whole algorithm. It's really crazy. I only do that for myself so that I'm clear about how much I'm selling my work for.
It's like you're tapping into your left brain.
Totally.
For a
It's like
moment.
all
Katie
math.
would love that. You're getting into your business car.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So it's like, so like the smaller pieces sell for a higher per square inch, and then the larger pieces sell lower for
Interesting.
a lower price per square
Can I
inch. to
say
keep
something
it.
about
Yeah.
what you're saying?
Mhm.
This sounds like self-awareness.
Yeah.
This is like, I'm aware of the work I put in, but I'm also aware of where I fit in the market. I imagine that authors can benefit a lot from walking into a Barnes and Noble. Like, yeah, my book would be with those books there. Where like, this is the self-published section. Like, this is where I belong. Like, just being aware of where you are so you can find your audience and not being like, well, I should be on the cover of Time magazine next week. Like just, like be aware of where you are and then maybe you'll get there. But yes, we had somebody in the back.
Oh, definitely. Thank you so much. What was coming up for me as I'm listening to this, I keep translating it because my primary work that people know me for is as a voice, singer-songwriter. And so because of that, I think about this idea of pricing. It's going to look different for performance artists. But what's helped me is all the different ways that those branches have gone. So spending time in the sound healing work now has that's a whole nother world of pricing. But I've had to do a lot of healing work around recovering from, it's easy for me, so it's easy to give it away. And because it's easy to give away, I don't really think of it as effort. But what you said about the person who says they can't pay, and you say okay, that they can only pay this much, and you say okay, and it became really painful, and I was struggling, and it made me realize that I will never, ever, 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 ever do that again. And I said, there's a reason why you have a coach to help you to do that so that they can be there. Or if you stay in self-awareness, so you can learn and you don't do that again. But that's the main. So I'm listening to this idea around pricing and thinking about that as a singer-songwriter, because again, if the spiritual center calls me to come sing a couple of songs, I may do that for sometimes a little bit, but I still, even with them, I expect a few hundred. We're there. It's gotta be that. It's gotta be that, even if I'm only singing 2 songs. You're gonna pay me those 2 songs. But so I'm just, everything that you all are saying, I'm trying to translate it into the performance place. Because
I'm right there with you.
Different.
Okay, so for our audience online, the question is about, first of all, I loved your point about it's easy for me, so I don't feel like I can price it high. It's something that comes easily to me, and people know it too. Like, well, you could just do this for free. Like, how many times have you been asked to be? Just come and do it, But then also, how does it translate into something that's a live performance, or even worse, a recorded performance? How do you get paid for that? It's all free, Like you put it on Spotify, like you'll never see that money, like unless you have. The only people who are making money on Spotify are like, Taylor Swift, because she has like 100 million listens per second or something, like it really does not add up for indie artists. So that's a really good point, the performing arts.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
I want to add something very much to this point, which is, and I'm stating the obvious, but we have to remember it because I think we forget. When you go to the supermarket and you're going to buy a box of cereal and a tube of toothpaste, you're not questioning what they're charging. I mean, we all know the prices have gone up, but you're not questioning what they're charging for that commodity, because our culture and our, late stage capitalism system has taken all the guesswork out of that for you. They've already made that decision. You're just going to pay what it costs to buy the toothpaste. You're going to pay what it costs to buy the box of cereal, and you're not going to think twice. How dare you charge me $7.50 for a box of cereal that I think it should only be $4.50. The arts, this is an uphill battle for us. It doesn't matter what medium we're in. This is an uphill battle every single day. We're selling both tangible and intangible materials that our culture struggles terribly to put a fair price on. And it doesn't matter what the Taylor Swifts of the world are doing, because we're not them. And it falls back on the artist. All the burden falls back to the artist to put the price on the thing. Whereas when you go to buy that tube of toothpaste, that decision has been made, right? Nobody's arguing about it. It's done. You don't get to quibble over it. So we've got this extra burden on us. And just as you say, just because singing is your joy, your passion, and your natural gift, you deserve to put a value on it, because we're in a marketplace that insists we put value on things. But let's just acknowledge that this burden's fallen to us every single day to figure that out.
Yeah,
That's such a good point.
The
Did you
inherent
hear about
complexity,
Ireland?
yeah.
They're giving a living
Yes.
wage to artists.
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
Yes.
We're all moving
What a
there.
beautiful.
Anybody else have it? That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. We argue about it in our own heads. We argue about the price, the value of our work.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts that come up about that? Yes, Charmaine.
Also, it's just like, even for me, I'm a performing artist, a trumpet player, but the actual act, like Roy Hargrove talks about this, the actual act of loving to perform, but then there's all the stuff that's in between in terms of, it still costs you gas to get there.
Yeah.
It's you still have to pay lights and all of that stuff. So that's really, they're not paying perhaps for that performance piece. It's the maintenance of the performer who has to live, and that's really what, like you were talking about. It takes 24 hours, of your time to read a transcript and stuff like that. It's still you love singing, or you love creating your own art, but there's still a cost for you to live to create that art. That's where the consideration is that I put into my pricing, is that I still have to have gas, at least some gas to get there, and all the things that go into getting to the location.
Yeah, so just to paraphrase real quickly, our price should include all the cost of living and the cost of us getting to that moment of sharing that experience with our audience.
Yeah. And time is money, right? And as you're busier and busier and everybody wants a piece of you, you got to think about that time and what that costs. That's all. Yeah. Your time becomes increasingly expensive, right?
Yeah. What it took for you to put together that show.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. What you said, what it costs to put together the show, and also the cost of marketing, right? So like hosting the free workshops or putting stuff on social media, and like especially creating exposure around things that maybe aren't as known or familiar to people, that that should be priced into considered into the pricing structure too.
Yeah.
And save all your receipts
Yes.
Yeah.
for everything.
Well, and then there's the downward pressure on cultural institutions, which are themselves under-resourced, and so can offer the artist less and less. So you're squeezed. It's not just you're not only squeezed in how you price yourself.
Right.
You're squeezed from the top down, because when I was working in theater as a playwright, I mean, it was heartbreaking how if you could offer an actor $50 for a show that was going to take up their entire lives for 3 months.
Oh my God.
That was considered a triumph, right? Well, we're paying you. It's like it's there was no relationship.
Yeah.
My friends, Dr. Vonnya has arrived, and I am so excited to introduce you to our guest of honor this evening. And you know what? We have time because the reception starts officially at 6, and I know we're getting hungry, but why don't we just take our we'll take our discussion for another 30 minutes, if everyone's okay with that, and then we'll make our way over to the reception. So Dr. Vonnya is my new BFF. I'm so excited to have met this woman. She's inspired me so much. Do you want me to introduce you?
Yes.
Okay, you want a little moment to breathe. Dr. Vonnya is a media mogul and the visionary founder and CEO of the Root Branch Empire, an award-winning ecosystem of media, education, business, and community enterprises, headquartered on Baltimore's historic waterfront, which, by the way, she owns. With 3 decades of experience as a filmmaker, producer, writer, and industry leader, she continues to break barriers, most recently becoming the first African-American woman in Maryland to purchase a block along the waterfront, while championing storytelling, economic empowerment, and creative excellence across every platform she touches. We are honored to have you talk about we've been talking about how to price our work, how to see our value as artists, and we are excited to have you part of this discussion.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you all for having me. So you already know that if I met someone named Root and we're Root Branch, we just immediately literally became best friends. So that's very real. It's really funny that, we're having this conversation tonight. And as I was driving here, I was thinking about my day today. And I literally had 3 commitments today, right? And so it started very early with a radio show interview. And then I'm alum of the University of Maryland College Park. And so I was recently honored by the university with the Comms Leadership Award. And so I was invited tonight to thank you. I was invited to the Maryland-Michigan game. So I was like, and then I happen to have on blue, which is Michigan's color. But I don't know anything about sports. So I had to buy something really quick before I walked into the suite. And but I, love what Root has created here and wanted to be here tonight as well and support. So I pushed my way back up the Beltway to get here, just in enough time to still be a part of the conversation. So again, pardon my tardiness, but thank you for having me. And I share all of that because again, the conversation right now is like pricing your worth and when to say no and, kind of weighing the odds of all of the things that we take on, the different commitments, since we're taking on 3 commitments today, but they are really important and significant for various reasons. And when I look at the scope of my company and the different, verticals or branches that make up Root Branch, they each played a vital role. And so it was just as important to me to make the sacrifice, to kind of commit that time. And there are times where, I just physically don't have the bandwidth to do it, or no matter how much I want to, I may, just assign someone from the team to go in my stead. But again, it's part, your own discernment. You kind of weigh the odds of the pros and cons of the upshot and the benefits of, saying yes to something. And I know we're talking money tonight, and everything doesn't necessarily immediately turn into a monetary, value, but currency to me is more than just the physical exchange of money. So it's the relationship building, it's forging the relationships with each of you beautiful women here tonight. That was important to me. So
That's literally what we've been talking about.
Right. So here I am. So thank you.
Yeah, so I'm gonna open it up to any one of you want to just kind of ask. Well, we had a set of questions that you were going to ask.
I was the moderator.
I was thinking we should ask you questions.
Okay. I can roll with
About
that.
how to think of ourselves as servants of our community
Mhm.
rather than solo artists trying to make it in a scary world. How can we shift to being servants of the community and therefore making money because we're doing something that people need?
1,000%. I truly believe to be a leader, you have to serve. It's sort of like you can't receive if your hand is closed. So when you are in a space of giving, you're pouring back out, but it creates an ecosystem that organically, brings it back to you. And I think looking at my own example, I've been a pretty good steward of the responsibility, the resources, the capital, and the influence that, has been bestowed upon me. So using it in a responsible way, it's like it just continues to grow and grow. And you're being given even more opportunity and more rooms and more space and more territory, essentially, to be able to give. So it's almost like the scriptures say, to whom much is given, much is required. And so, I can't complain, as it continues to grow. Yes.
I just want to ask you, you say you are given more responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
So how can artists take that into their day-to-day? Like, okay, I'm going to start pricing myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to start evaluating my worth. Like, I'm going to start doing this thing that we've been talking about tonight. How can I make myself trustworthy to be handed more responsibility? What's that mindset? What does that look like?
So it's really assessing like the value add that you're bringing, right? I work a lot with a lot of small businesses, and one that's coming to mind. It's a group called Modern. Check them out. And so she does this really like interior, exterior design where she creates gardens in your home or in businesses. So she's doing this design thing, but it's so much more than that, because when she builds this beautiful like garden or this sanctuary, that the community or the business owner or the homeowner get to benefit from, is now a part of their restorative practice. It's a part of how they find their safe space, their healing space. So the value isn't necessarily that she built a garden, it's all the other things that come along with what she created, because she created this healing space. So as you're like developing your art, you know what I mean? Like, obviously, yes, on the surface, we're looking at the amount of hours and the tangible resources, the dollars that it costs you to do it, right? But then when you really begin to help your consumer or your buyer connect to whatever it is that's making it so meaningful for them that they're willing to pay for it, that's what makes the value add kind of really go up and give you a bit of range to be able to price it according to that. Because if there's a beautiful piece of art that can calm my anxiety, right? I mean, I told Katanya on my way in, I was concerned that my phone wasn't charging, and here I am at, the stadium, and I was willing to pay this girl for her battery bank, so I can make sure I got home safely. You see what I'm saying? So depending on the circumstances need, the value add goes up really quickly.
We almost have to start thinking of our audiences as people who need something that we can provide beyond just our art.
Yes.
What are the emotions we can provide? What are
The outcome.
anybody up there want to add to that? Sorry, I'm like moderating from the audience.
I would just add that, wonderful to meet you, wonderful for everything you said, thank you. I think women in particular struggle with articulating their own value proposition. And so we struggle with the dollar sign, the dollar figure on the one end of this, and we struggle with recognizing the value and the gifts that we bring on the other end of this. And we constantly feel like, well, anybody can do what I do, or I'm just a dime a dozen, or whereas the reality is nobody can do what you do the way you do it, period. It's so hard, and so hard to, and you can say it, it's so hard to believe it. And I think that when we're talking about serving community or bringing our service to community, we have to believe that first, obviously not in an arrogant way,
Right.
not with arrogance, but with self-confidence and what they were saying before, self-love. And if you can start there, I think then we can serve our communities.
Love it. Good answer. Anybody else?
I think so. In my day job, I work with a user experience research and design team, and love that as its own creative practice, ushering these projects through to completion. And a huge part of that is collecting user feedback and using that to inform the design of whatever you're creating. And so I've taken those principles into my improv classes. And after every class, from the very first workshop that I taught 2 years ago to, you know, the one that I'm gonna teach tomorrow, I have like a feedback form that I send, and I collect, you know, testimonials and what was your favorite part, and, you know, what could be better. And sometimes when I feel like, oh, I don't know if this is working, it's like you have, like, it helps to have this list of things where you can go back to and be like, no, like, here are the outcomes, so that I can like reinforce like within myself and like speak to that and all the testimonials. So I think I guess the ideal would be for that to be very embodied, but it helps to have it a little bit external too.
But thank you so much for sharing that as a practice to always be able to stay at the forefront of your business, because you're being informed constantly, and it creates more of a dynamic space that you are occupying as an artist who's always drawing, right? As an artist who's always drawing. So I really appreciate that.
You're like linking, like, how will my audience experience my art to how you price yourself and how you market yourself. Like,
It's like
by
a
using
conversation,
those principles of business, really, the user experience. What could let's coin our own term. They're not users, okay? There are
our audience.
like, there are like, I don't know,
Experiencers.
The audience
Yeah.
experiencer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we just like trademark TM.
The business side of the trademark.
Oh my
My
God.
office is closed right now. We're
Right,
calling them
yes.
on Monday.
Oh my God.
No, I recently went to Tribe, Baltimore, and Martha, who teaches there, said to me, she said, "You're not building an audience, you're building participants. Because you want people to come to your concert and to participate." And that's when we've crossed from being artists who are trying to sell our art to inviting people who want to buy what we're offering and want to be part of our sphere of influence.
Right.
It's like getting them to opt in, basically.
And like a special plug for improv is being like such a great thing too. Like that idea of like a scene partner. Like this client that I'm serving is like my scene partner. You know, like we're all gonna die, and it's like this was like a scene in our lives, and it benefited both of us. And I think, you know, improv is like a special place for artists of practicing a lot of these like spiritual principles that come in really handy, like in our everyday lives.
I wonder if we could take the principles of that. That's a very participant-friendly kind of art form. Could we take that into other art forms? How can we start thinking of our gallery shows as more of like, just what do people do when they walk in? Are they grabbing something? Are they posting something? Are they writing? Like, you know what I mean? Like, can we start thinking of our
Place
art?
the audience in the art.
And the art, yeah.
Immersive art.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just to piggyback on what you said, because I'm a business intelligence person by trade. I do digital marketing for large organizations, and I'm a musician who went to Peabody Conservatory, and I can see like how it's a lot of programming, because we're sometimes, depending on where you are, you know, your education is, it definitely can be a mental hurdle about what your teachers taught you, and I've had that for myself, that as a female trumpet player, there's sort of this masculine, and I'm in the jazz world, and so it's a completely different mindset of, and sometimes you may need to have like a coach and a community to, you know, craft an experience for yourself that goes along with your values, like the young lady said, or the person said in the earlier, is that you have to craft your environment to bring out the best in you in terms of what, and sometimes you may need a business coach. I guess I'm not asking a question, but more saying like a business coach, because I work with a lot of artists on the marketing side, and their brains just don't work like that. And some, but even if you're a CEO, you know, you have to know when to fire yourself.
Right.
That's a very you have to, it's not, oh, well, it's me, I'm not a good marketer. It's sort of like, okay, this is not a skill set that I'm passionate about, but I know I still need it. So maybe outsourcing that to somebody and getting a coach of where you're weak, because it does take a village. Like my favorite quote is, business is a team sport.
Yeah.
And so it really, this is what I do for a living as well as coach artists on marketing and business stuff. And it really, at least in the music world, it does come down to not just your talent. If you're trying to break even or make a profit, it's business team versus the business team, unfortunately, at least in the music side of the world. It's not really just about the talent, but the business team that you put around your talent to support your revenue goals.
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah.
Dr. Vonnya, can you share about how innovation plays a role in the creative market?
Yeah, it's actually, I guess, a blessing and a curse because being an innovator, being innovative, there's a different kind of, I guess, sense of job security that you have because you know that you're gifted in a way that you can create something. And as long as you don't lose your ability to create something, you'll always be able to have something that can take care of you, right? But then sometimes as an innovator, we have so many some things that we're trying to figure out which of those things are we going to create? What are the things that make the best sense, the most practical sense to put the resources and the time and the effort behind to take a chance at to see if it'll launch and land successfully, right? But I mean, in our particular story, we really grew and scaled in the midst of a trying time. It was during the pandemic, right? So again, we're a media production company. So this was during a time where we needed to very quickly, everyone, all of a sudden learn how to live our life behind a screen, but that is our world. And so we were able to be a thought leader, working with some of our community partners, particularly in the education space, to show them how we can leverage media to create content or create educational programming to support our young learners. I'll give the story really, really quickly as I can. But the long and short of it was, so at Root Bridge, we have an education arm to our company where we teach film, photography, and media arts, right? We have over 40 teachers that go in and out of schools throughout Baltimore City. So when the pandemic came in and school closed and everyone had to go home and the governor said, we're gonna go home for 2 weeks. 2 weeks turned into 2 years. A city like Baltimore, we weren't ready for that. Our families didn't have internet, they didn't have computers at home, but our students were expected to learn virtually, right? And imagine if you're a household of multiple children and they all need to be logged on at the exact same time with no computer and no internet. But every household had a television. And so when they sent the students home with this packet of dittos to work on, we got a hold of that packet of dittos and took a look at the lessons that were in that packet, and leaning on my expertise in television and film, we produced a pilot for a kid television show teaching the lesson that was in the packet, pitched it to the school district loved it, funded it. And so when the pandemic came in March of 2020, from April 2020 to August, we have produced 105 episodes of this kid television show. And we were basically able to show that media, it was innovation. Media was a solution in the midst of this health crisis. And so we then became, contracted to create banks of educational training videos for the Department of Education. And so now when we're 2025, in a very unique time, right? There's a lot of things that are concerning to a lot of people for a lot of reasons. I'm like, I've seen this movie before, right? And so again, I put my hat of innovation back on and say, okay, how does media play a role in being a solution in these moments of what feels like crises all over again? And one of the initiatives that we've recently pitched and launched in early stages of development is helping the community, helping the people become educated and aware of their rights. Know your rights, creating media marketing, messaging, and campaigns around, do we know what to do if all of a sudden the National Guards arrive in Baltimore? Or if you encounter ICE or any of these kinds of things? Those are the kinds of, media production content my firm produces. But I'm always, trying to stay out in front of what is happening amongst us and creating what could be a solution in the media lane. And so because I've been able to successfully do that, I continue to create opportunity even when there doesn't seem like there's any opportunity there.
So you're responding to the like the political, you're responding to culture.
Yeah.
And then coming up with solutions with your creative work.
Yep.
That's really interesting, because, so how many of us feel like we should be political with our art, or do we wanna, I mean, we don't have to get into that, but I'm just saying, like, if we're informed by a situation around ourselves, maybe instead of seeing like, oh, I wanna be political and I wanna start a fight, we could say, oh, my art can provide a solution to this
Yeah.
thing that's happening.
I was gonna say, yeah, I think about pinpointing the need, right?
Yeah.
Like that's always going to be successful, I think, in business, is you pinpoint a very specific need and you meet that need in a very original way.
That's right.
Yeah.
Market's always at the forefront of social justice now.
Oh,
That's right, yes, that's right.
That's right.
Say that out loud into the.
Absolutely.
She said art is always at the forefront of social justice,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah, unfortunately, then it runs into the marketplace, and the marketplace often has other ideas.
Mhm.
Because in the book world, I write very dystopian, very political fiction, and very political poetry. And literary agents, they don't like that. They like happy stories, or fantasy, or romance, and that's what sells a lot of books. And so I write what I need to write, and I let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah.
So,
That's the other.
Good for you.
Yeah. What is it? 5:39, okay. Maybe like 5 more minutes?
Sure.
And then we'll start heading over. What are some final thoughts, ladies? You're thinking about your art, you're thinking about how you're gonna go forward in 2026. You're gonna conquer this beast, you're gonna figure out how to market yourself by being more truly yourself. We've had amazing discussions today about marketing. What do you wanna ask our panel about? What are some practical steps we can take to make our business, the business around our art, be more prevalent, to take bigger steps to make it happen?
I want just one thing is from a business perspective, always just a thought is getting your operating costs down on a piece of paper like that. Like the cost that it takes for you to do things to me is a good starting point. Working with a lot of artists or even just businesses is just understanding the cost of doing business. That's always a good start to really give you sort of a clear head about how much money you need to make. Because sometimes, I mean, if you're, and this option hasn't been thrown out there, but maybe you just like being a hobbyist as well. And maybe it's not a business and it's more about just maintaining your hobby, which is a different mindset than trying to, make a complete living off of. Because I know working with artists, some of them had teaching jobs and that's what funded their art. Like it's not, sometimes the people that you see, they have other jobs besides. There's very few. When I went to Peabody, I mean, that's why a lot of them have a professor job, is because they are not making full-time living off of their art. They have a teaching job that gives them benefits. So the illusion that you see a lot of these artists is like, oh, they're on tour and they're doing all these great things. That's not their only stream of income. So give yourself some grace, but just count the cost.
Yeah.
I'll share. A thought that comes to mind. I don't know why you would say, I don't mind. Would you?
Yeah,
For the people who are mine. All right, very good. One thought that came, first of all, from this whole experience was that I'm okay. I'm really right where I need to be.
Right.
And it needed to be in a community like this to recognize how okay I really am.
Yes.
I can lean into some of the places where doubt might have been living. You helped me. This gathering has helped me wrangle doubt in certain ways. And so the one thought that came to me, which really when Charmaine talked about putting our numbers down on paper, I think putting it all down on paper.
Yes.
It's like a one stop, like to start write it down. Like I don't know if anyone is using their journal or using their plan, whatever you have to write it down, that makes it real. There's something that changes when it comes out of your head and onto the paper. that moves you and that moves you. And so that's one thing that I would bring forward. I've written a lot of things down today. I'm really grateful for this space. I have a lot of things to reflect on, and I can't wait for the next one.
That's my daughter. Amazing. So grateful. So grateful. And I thought I was the only one with these issues. Man. I thought, like we all have the same thoughts and the same struggles in our creative work. And we need to come together to support each other.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. Should we do this every weekend?
I won't be late at the next one.
Very restorative.
Yeah.
That's minimum.
Yeah.
They mapped out 40 minimum already.
That's minimum.
Yeah.
Monthly.
Have the next one.
Any final words?
Final words. Keep doing it. You know? Just keep doing it. Whatever that thing is that you are doing, keep doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's half of the battle is just not quitting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like really.
True.
Continue. A lot of the people who make it and succeed are the ones who just didn't go away. They just
Right. It kept showing up.
We didn't talk about the grit side of
Yeah.
being an artist in business. It's the grit.
Yeah.
It's the persistence. It's the
Yeah.
moving on past failure. It's you just
Yeah.
keep going. And
Yeah.
grit is like, that's money in the bank. Because
Yeah.
that's what you need to have that.
Yeah.
And I've learned that, man, the hard way. Over so many years. So that's the thing. It's the grit that you have to keep going. Yeah.
By the way, Amy's book is in the grand prize tonight. So everybody get a raffle ticket. We're gonna go eat. And 7 p.m. we're gonna raffle off all our gifts, including our huge gift basket, which includes Sarah Magita's amazing artist cards, such cool items. It's gonna be so much fun. So come, let's head over there. I need some help collecting some things. Yeah, thank you.